The revolution's begun. The time to stand up has come. We are the rocking of the throne. We are the rocking of the throne.
Hello, my name is Victor Tiffany. I'm member of Revolt Against Plutocracy, and I'm talking today with Niko House, who's been in the news lately, the progressive news at any rate. Before I begin, just a full disclosure. Niko is a member of Revolt Against Plutocracy Committee and fully good standing, full voting rights. So my interview with him is not probably going to be harsh enough, perhaps, but I do want to try to get to the bottom of this controversy between the Young Turks and three of our revolutionary progressive media allies. Niko, thanks for joining me.
No problem, man. Once again, as always, thanks for having me. I'm actually pretty excited to have this conversation. This is actually the first interview that I've done. You got the exclusive. I haven't done any like one-on-ones. I have a bunch scheduled this week, but I haven't done any one-on-ones.
Well, that's great. It give me an opportunity to make some news, perhaps. Jordon Chariton with the Young Turks did a monologue, I believe it was last Thursday night, on the Young Turks Facebook page, which we have on our Facebook page. I shared it here. And I also added Tim Black's response and H.A. Goodman's response. And I basically want to give you here an opportunity to respond to some of his accusations. And they're pretty bizarre. Basically, he's accusing you and Tim and H.A. Goodman of rabble-rousing, of stirring up anger or exploiting the angry progressives that are out there for clicks, for your own personal benefit. Why don't you just go ahead first and speak to that? Why is it you basically are mostly, I believe, been talking about the DNC lawsuit, but what is your motivation just in terms of why you are talking, why you do your video channels, and why you do what you do?
My motivation, my personal motivation, in the face of a bunch of just false information, misinformation, and just kind of like this hero worship, this mainstream media worship, this conglomerate worship, people placing authority and illegitimate authority. I try to be truth. I try to give clarity. I try to give scope into situations because I feel like oftentimes I see them from a very objective perspective. I'm not really into the hero worshiping thing. I've never been into it. As far as for clicks, I'm not really sure if I do anything for clicks. I mean, I guess I would like for people to see things that I say, but I present facts. I present the facts that I can gather. Not all, sometimes new facts come and they may get out before I can get to them, but I've never had a problem correcting myself, and neither has H.A. and neither has Tim Black. So, and our mission has always been what it's it's been the truth. Just bring the truth, even if you're not getting paid for it.
He accused you and Tim and H.A. of being deceitful, basically not being honest. In his monologue, did he say anything specifically about you that was, I don't want to say dishonest, but not factually accurate?
In his monologue, actually, I don't think so. He kind of was all over the place in his monologue. It was completely and totally incoherent. You can tell it was like this rash reaction to something he didn't like or something I know what it was a rash reaction to. Like, he got upset because we were in a texting discussion and he didn't like the response that he got. And he didn't like the fact that I told people that I was fired from a Truth Against the Machine without being told about it. And then he went on and made a video specifically calling out all three of our names, Tim, Niko, and H.A. Goodman. And then he went on to say he didn't mean to say Tim, but he didn't actually specify me. And I don't know. Like, it was a very confusing video. And then apparently he made another monologue afterwards. I didn't really pay any attention to it. I didn't care to because it was obviously that it was just like a desperate attempt to preserve his own ego. And a lot of times I'm not going to entertain that. I will talk about myself. I will tell my truth. I will tell the truth about my situation, what I've said and what I've done. But I'm not going to go try and tell somebody to be honest and truthful. I thought that was already implied in the job, but obviously it isn't.
So he seems to think that you're not only that you're misleading people, but that you're turning people in the wrong direction. That you're not even a progressive, basically.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Let me ask you this. You're full progressive. Maybe revolutionaries are not progressive. I don't know. And I want to come back to this notion of revolutionary progressives versus what I think most of the Young Turks have become. But how do you, I mean, you talk about this was an ego thing. There might have been something going on. Tim Black actually talks about a strategic purpose behind this whole process. And I'm quite sympathetic to that idea that really what they're doing is protecting the DNC and protecting the Democratic Party as a brand name. And what you and HA and Tim Black do as revolutionaries is take no prisoners, right? You don't care who you're going after. You go attack Republicans and Democrats equally.
My thing is if I'm going to call CNN out, and I'm going to call MSNBC out and Fox News out, I don't understand why I can't call out TYT. I didn't say Cenk was a sellout. I mean, not that I don't believe it, but I don't do ad hominem attacks. I say this is what was said. This is why this is ludicrous, and this is why this person may be stupid in this particular case for saying that. And they're being irresponsible in saying that. Or something, for example, he was upset because I said the $500,000 to $2 million was spent completely and totally irresponsibly. They hired 13 people with $2 million, and they said they were going to hire 4 different teams of independent journalists. He wasn't happy with the way the money was spent. That has been conveyed a lot. Because you know why? If you were happy with the way the money was spent, you probably wouldn't have started your side project full of free investigative journalists when you were expecting to have a huge team. But instead, all you got was management, and you don't like and Jordon doesn't like being micromanaged. So he didn't even like the way the money was being spent, because that money was being spent to make them a better establishment media conglomerate.
Let me ask you, did you recommend in one of your videos that people shouldn't watch TYT or they're not worth watching?
Absolutely.
You did.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so that might be really why you were on that list of the 3, because they see this as an attack. This is after his video?
That was after. Yeah, that was after that. I've suggested that I don't really think that everybody should listen to everything TYT says, but then when you see you see them straddling the fence. So they have Jordon interview Jared for the DNC fraud suit, and Jordon does a fairly good job doing so. And then they have John Idarola and their little fan, little groupies on the side, the supposed attorneys, interviewing or talking about it, but they don't call on Jared. They don't call on myself. They don't call any of the co-counsel. They don't call on Liz. And they give analysis on the legitimacy of the lawsuit based off of 2 lines out of the transcript. That's absolutely ridiculous. You know how large that following is. You know how important it is for this lawsuit to either, the importance of it, and whether it fails or whether it goes through, it's extremely important either way. And to pretend like it's some desperate attempt, and what I think one of the lawyers referred to Jared as an opportunist, it's absolutely ridiculous considering they have one part of their show where they're bolstering the case, the other part of their show where they're talking shit about the case, where that's the part of their show where they have to entertain a little Hillary centrists, and they're making money off of the views from both. You're talking about almost 500,000 views at this point. So between the 2 videos. So who's pretending to be, or who's being the opportunist when I'm not getting paid? Jared's hasn't gotten paid off of this lawsuit at all. Why are you straddling the line? Why are you pretending that you're being quote unquote even-handed when in fact you didn't want a legitimate analysis? Because you could have brought any of us on. Yeah, you wanted clicks. Exactly. You wanted clicks.
Let me try to dig in a little deeper. You talked about them straddling, and in fact, they do. I mean, Cenk is pretty clear. He was never in support of Bernie or bust, and they supported Hillary Clinton. And I tried to explain Friday night on Tim's show when I called in that this might be just a sense on or a consensus within the Young Turks based on this two-party system. Look, if you attack the Democrats hard, if you show them to be a fraudulent entity, all you're doing is helping the Republicans win in 2018 and 2020. So I have a sense this might be a strategic sort of concern that they have, that while your intentions might be good, you're really undermining the whole chances of Democrats, even neoliberal Democrats, to get elected, or I should say perhaps especially neoliberal Democrats, since obviously you wouldn't badmouth a progressive Democrat.
To that, I would say, in respect to Young Turks, I would hope so. And I don't mean like I want Republicans to win. I mean the fact that you are a major media conglomerate and you have already thrown out the window all objectivity by creating this Justice Democrats, assuming that everybody you follow, you're already saying, I'm aligning with the Democrats, ride or die, whether they're guilty or innocent. We're going to assume that every good politician in this country is Democrat, and every bad politician, if they are bad, is a Republican. And that's absolutely, completely and totally irresponsible. It's totally unethical. And that is the opposite of what, especially that's what they've complained about with MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News since they've been created. And now Cenk and Tim Black referred to TYT as MSNBC Light. And I'm like, no, they're not MSNBC Light, because they're much more influential than MSNBC has been, because of this technology and informational age that we've kind of evolved into. They're getting more views. They own channels. They quote unquote protect them on YouTube. They are a YouTube partner. And obviously they have the power to get videos taken down, considering that a lot of videos that were created to specifically protect me, HA, and Tim were taken down. So you are now saying you can't consider anybody else. You just threw the Green Party out. You just threw the Republican Party out. You just threw the Libertarian Party out and said, no, we're going to focus on helping the Dems because they've been obviously so susceptible to being helped before, right? No, it's irresponsible. And that's not journalism. That's essentially you're being paid to play for the team that you think is going to win.
Do you think this is intentionally or unintentionally a counter-revolutionary effort? Basically, we got to shore up the Democrats, and therefore we're going to discredit the revolutionary progressives that are in the media. I think Cenk and the Young Turks broadly are progressive. I think the difference, and I tweeted this out. I think it was yesterday. I think the difference is they're willing to actually support neoliberal establishment, and we are not. So the difference is they are, to use the campaign terminology we use, they are sheep, right? They will follow Bernie into the status quo party, and we are not. We are revolutionaries. We are going to support an oppositional candidate, and in 2016 that meant Jill Stein.
Yeah. I don't think that Cenk's progressive. I'll be honest with you. I don't.
Elaborate on that a little bit.
I think Cenk's a liberal, but Cenk is going after. He's saying, "I'm going to be a Democrat, ride or die." That's what he said. Granted, he used to be a Republican, but he's saying, "I'm going to be a Democrat, ride or die," and I'm going to create a Justice Democrats. So in that point, you're not moving forward. You're staying stagnant. That is not progress. That is the opposite of progress. If I was like, no matter what facts are presented to me, I'm going to raise, because we have had the facts presented to us about the Democratic Party and individuals' success within the Democratic Party if you do not align with their neoliberal agenda. We know, because we've seen it. We've seen people lose. We saw them pull money from Tulsi Gabbard. If anybody's a quote unquote Justice Democrat, that would be Tulsi Gabbard. That would be Nina Turner. That would be Tim Canova. And we saw how obviously that would be Bernie Sanders. Same thing. First of all, very rarely, if ever, do you ever hear them bolstering Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, we don't hear any coverage about her. They don't have her on the show. And if she has been on there, I must have missed that episode because I feel like that would be a huge deal. I don't think that this initially, I will be honest, I don't think that this initially started as an oppositional force to counter, the revolutionary media, if you will. I think that Shank got word because it wasn't, he can't ignore me. He tried to pretend like he doesn't know who I am, but he does know who I am. Like, he knows. I think it got out because Jordon is his most, in my opinion, besides Jimmy Dore and Anna Kasparian, is his most popular field, reporter. And of course, when you do an attack like that from the TYT Politics page, it's going to get back to Shank, which is why he tried to quote tweet us on Twitter and say that he didn't know who we were and we weren't worthy of conspiracy as far as on his behalf. Like, I don't believe that because Nomiki commented on my Facebook. Emma decided to write a whole, a tweet about it that got out. So all of your employees, your network is talking about our lawsuits, profiting off of it, going on our pages, commenting on my stuff. And you are quote tweeting us talking about you don't know who we are. Why would you even address us if we're not important? Because you know what's coming next. You know that you have to defend yourself. You have to try to essentially delegitimize what we're doing by pretending that you're not worried about us. But that's obviously not the case, which is why Jordon keeps responding, which is why he kept covering. He will apologize and then backtrack and insult again, and then apologize and then backtrack.
Yeah, they're definitely worried about you. Otherwise, he would have been out there making those accusations. I've seen a video of somebody who was just commenting on all this. And his view, I mean, I always had great respect for Jordon. His reporting, I thought, was very top notch. And then all of a sudden he comes out with this monologue attacking three trustworthy revolutionaries. I thought it was pretty strange. So I don't want to drag this on forever. I'll let you sort of take the last word if you have anything to say that might cover something that I just didn't think to ask about.
No, we have a responsibility in media to hold each other accountable. And I have no problem. If Jordon felt like what he said, or what I said, HA said, or Tim said was, wrong or, not factual, then he could have said that and nobody would have argued with him. We would have probably even had him on our shows. But there's a pattern that's been formulated, and we know when something is becoming an establishment media organization. When you see situations like TYT doesn't have any other major independent media on their show to be interviewed, not unless they're on their payroll. They bring on, when they do finally pay people, there are people who are already established, already have money, already have means and outreach. That's not independent media. That's, you're trying to boost your own standing. So it is our job, my job, Tim, HA, Dave Packman, other people, to keep that media in check, because if we allow them to get out of control, that will be, like it was last election, the main speaker piece for whatever comes next. And we will see it, most people, unfortunately, will see it through that filter. And so we have to clean that filter every now and then. Now, I truly believe that from information that I will talk about later, because I don't want to give it away, it's got to like my page if you don't and find out. But from information that I've gathered, I know for a fact that TYT censors people. They censor very, very, very important information. We had a situation where someone was at Standing Rock. I'm not going to mention the name. And they were in a little altercation. They started to go into details about this altercation, but because of who was involved, TYT cut it and just went on to the next scene. Whereas on RT, they actually reported the entire conversation. You learn really quickly why TYT cut it out. You have a situation where TYT oftentimes like to take credit for Standing Rock. That Jordon Chariton broke it. Jordon Chariton reported, and they always talk about getting and receiving credit. However, it was Alexei from the RT in America that broke it 3-4 months before they were even out there and was there the entire time. But he was never given credit, even though Jordon knew he was there. Never talked to him, never gave him credit. never had, any type of, because that's what journalists do. You look out for it. If he was there before the firing started, then he needs to be given credit. I think that most people feel like that. So, and then obviously they do, which is why they're like, we're crying about it. So we have to keep them in check. And for people saying, we have to get together and move on and go forward. No, you just had a super conglomerate media corporation try to blackmail one guy, lie, say he talked shit about one guy and pretend like he never said anything, and then just absolutely trash another gentleman who has spoke nothing but praise for him and stamp us out. And that was their goal, to eradicate us as competition. That is,
I think that was a good part of it. But again, they could say, well, you recommended people to not watch their channel anyway. So I want to just thank you for coming on. I think you have a new byline, Niko House, cleaning the filter.
Yeah, there you go.
Thanks again.
Take it easy.
Revolt Against Plutocracy won't just be covering the news about the necessary revolution in the United States. Sometimes we'll be making the news. If you want to stay on top of the revolutionary actions and strategies of grassroots, genuine progressives, and our allies, please subscribe to our YouTube channel today.